Hey, what's good, family? Thanks for pressing play on another Bite Down Boxing video. I'm the host of the podcast, Wood, and just jumping on here with some quick thoughts. Um, just some observations, man. I continue to listen to and see some of the frustrations with DAZN, some of the criticism of DAZN, and just your options in watching boxing in general. And we continue to have our allegiances to promoters or promotional entities. Some people rock with the sanctioning bodies. It's all over the place, but it's just funny with DAZN because the people talking the loudest and the nastiest about DAZN, they don't give you any details, like no experiences with the service or the product. It's just I hate it, and I don't know, man. I gave up on listening to that type of commentary years ago. That's why I don't watch political news anymore. You just can't criticize everything that somebody does and not find anything positive or productive or convenient. You can't say that DAZN doesn't give you some kind of utility. You can't say that. You can't deny that it hasn't helped deliver more boxing to boxing fans. But but some observations. I'm a military brat, and my mom's people, some of the people that check out the channel, ironically, are from Detroit. Detroit, obviously, being the home of the big three automakers, in GM, Ford, and Chrysler. And growing up, spending summers there, and the 1 year that I was there and went to school, and with all my aunts and uncles there, everybody always had American, the big car vehicles produced by the big three. And, that was just something I noticed there. Now, when I'm on the military bases, I'm seeing some Hondas. I'm seeing Toyotas. I'm seeing some German cars, Volkswagens. So that was just something an observation that I made early on. Things change. I come back from the Navy in 1998, and I start going back up to Detroit, to visit and whatnot. And gradually from like 98 to 05, put it short, all of my aunts now drive Nissans or Kias, Asian cars. Still living in Detroit, none of them now own vehicles made by the big three and haven't for a good 15, 16, 17 years. And I'm just saying, eventually, go back. Everybody knows that the big three were making trash for decades. The cars that they were making it was planned obsolescence in those vehicles. And gradually, people got tired of buying garbage. And eventually, folks started getting over into the Japanese cars and the Asian cars, which were more better fuel, better quality. You get a better vehicle for the price. And so that's just same thing with Showtime. Like, Showtime isn't balling this year. They're not doing big things at Showtime this year with their boxing product. They're just not. I think we've only had maybe 3 shows, and then the pay-per-view with Manny and Broner that wasn't good. The tank fight on Showtime wasn't good. I can't remember what we opened up the year with, but it's mainly been Showbox. It's mainly been Showbox shows, maybe 2 regular Showtime boxing, the Showtime Championship boxing, 2, maybe 3, and then the pay-per-view. And here we are at the end of March already. So it's not like they're doing great. And then the Pacquiao, the Pacquiao and Broner pay-per-view It wasn't good money. We didn't put good money into a good product. So basically, it just goes back to my point. Like I said, that the zone it's a fledgling, at least with the boxing and the MMA stuff. It's a fledgling service or product, but it doesn't mean it is horrible. And I'd just be a fool to sit here and listen to somebody tell me what they hate about it when they haven't said any details about it. I haven't heard one detail about what was garbage. Secondly, I'm gonna tell you another thing, just as people's preferences change. And now we're sitting here listening to an 87-year-old man in Bob Arum try to tell us to stick with pay-per-view. And I'm gonna tell you what happened with me and pay-per-view. I got tired of trying to invite people over to go in on something that I loved, but I just didn't want to spend $65, $75, now $85 on a pay-per-view. So now, I mean, for me personally, with an option like DAZN, while they're not delivering you pay-per-view caliber cards just yet, what I like about it is that it allows me to pay for what I like, which is boxing, in a responsible manner. I don't want to spend, just as an older person, it makes no sense for me to spend $75, $85 4 times a year or 6 times a year for pay-per-view fights, especially when we're not even really making bona fide pay-per-view fights. Like, to me, Crawford and Khan, I'm struggling with that one because I love Crawford a lot, but that's not a pay-per-view fight for me. And if I don't have an option to go in and checking it out at the movie theater, it's gonna be hard pressed for me to buy that one. But I tell you again, another example of people not respecting my money and my time. This right here. I stood in line back in 2001 or 2, whenever these dropped. I stood in line in Dayton, Ohio to get a pair of these that morning. I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go stand in line. And then as I'm sitting back at like the 20th spot, 25th spot or whatever it is, they opened the doors, the Foot Locker dudes came out and opened the doors. The first 4 or 5 dudes got to go in, and that's all the people that went home with this sneaker that day. This was when I was a real sneakerhead. And I'm just sitting here like an idiot. You know, I came out here to give a company $220, $225 for this pair of sneakers right here. This is the same one from, I didn't get it that morning. I had to go back and get it on eBay. So it's about convenience with something like DAZN. I'm not overpaying for it. I'm not doing anything outside of who I am as a person to support somebody else. And like I said, I can't justify giving anybody $85 3 or 4 times a year. And all I really saw was one so-so fight. So for me, that's all I'm saying, man. The DAZN has been a solid option. There are some shortcomings to it. We can talk about that. But to sit here and I'm seeing cats rail against DAZN and say no details of where they're falling short. I'm sorry, man. Just your commentary is bogus to me. Like, who cares? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Spence Garcia shouldn't have been pay-per-view. But now it's like we're trying to force it on you. And Latour's, man, I'm just going back to this week. You probably saw it, but Bob Arum is on a couple of different outlets just saying that, you put, in order to pay the boxers, he's a bad front man. I give you that. I give you that. Maybe Skipper should get out there and do more. I can't argue with that. Personally, the guy doesn't really bug me because, like I told you before, at least I'm hearing something from the dude. And sometimes you got to separate the BS from the real stuff. You know, you got to put on, just like with presidents, you got to put on your campaign hat for the people, in the house that you have to be representing and keeping people ginned up to support them. And then you have to go about doing your daily work. And a lot of Hearn's daily work isn't really that bad. Now, like I said, some of the fighters that you want to see haven't made it onto some of these cards, but it's doing a lot to try to break what's acceptable to the public already, what they want. And it's difficult to try to, and that's another thing with Bob, to sit there and say that, how is it, maybe you can answer me this, but how is a person not betting on themselves, as we saw Canelo did, who accepted the challenge and said, well, if I'm going to be over here at the DAZN, I plan on taking some of my fans with me. And from my understanding, there's some kind of subscription increases, some clauses in there that if the subscriptions go up, it keeps the deal alive, or there are certain payments to be made to him if the app hits certain thresholds with the number of subscribers. So I'm just saying, for the other fighters that's going out there, if you're big enough to negotiate that into your thing, to your contract or your deal, but why wouldn't you sit here and say, it's not like these other models are perfect. I'm gonna go out here and like I said, if I go over to DAZN and after 2 or 3 fights, the subscribers has raised significantly, then you go back to the table and negotiate. I know that was one of the things with Joe Budden when he was at Complex. He said, when the daily struggle started, they were averaging X amount, or they had X amount of subscribers on the Complex YouTube channel. They started doing the everyday struggle over there. After a year or two, they're knocking down 1.2 million views, for random clips and videos from the everyday struggle. So then you go back to when they went back to go negotiate his deal, he was like, nah, bro, I done added 600, 800,000 subscribers on here since I've been here, since we've been doing my show over here. So he left his own show, The Everyday Struggle, or something that he helped co-create, and went over to Revolt. Got a nice bag over there from Revolt. So I'm just saying, and I'm getting ready to wrap this up and get on the road, break the rules at work today, rocking these sneakers. But he went over there and did his thing, and I think Aaron, just a talker who tried to divide and conquer, the same things he said about Hearn, said about Heyman. Right. So it don't make no sense for me talking to you, man. You already know all this stuff, Latoris, but good checking in with you, bro. I'm getting ready to get on off of here. Again, like I was saying earlier, things change, the marketplace changes, services change, everything updates. And, but again, to just sit here and listen to people tell you their hate without giving you any facts, any experiences with the product, to not mention any of the positives of the product, it's not just all garbage. And so I don't know how people rock with that, but I look at things a little bit differently. And, that's what it is. Let me get on out of here. Thanks for checking in with me. Let me go get these people what they want.